My name is Alex Pelswitz. I'm with Taste the Local Difference. And Haley, thank you so much for being here and representing MARESA. So let's first, just a quick reminder of Zoom. So you're on a webinar, so you get to sit back and relax and we don't see you. So you get to be comfortable at home while you watch me cook. So if you do have anything that you want to bring up, you can put your question in the chat or the Q&A, and Haley's going to be helping make sure that I can hear those once I get cooking here and am more distracted. So again, feel free to reach out. If you want to share what county or where in Michigan you're joining from, you're welcome to do that. But I'm so excited to be here with all of you. And then again, like I said, I'm recording this. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I love this, I want to watch this again while I make it home, we're going to have the recording posted tomorrow in the Facebook event. So first off here, we're gonna go through a couple recipes today. Like I said, I work for Taste the Local Difference. So the theme is always gonna be supporting local businesses, which is really important, right? So when I say local businesses like farmers and restaurants, that's kind of the folks that I get to work with, which is really fun. But I get to work with farmers, which is so much fun. And so a lot of the recipes that we're going to be focusing on tonight are salads and things where you can get these ingredients from local producers. And I'll talk about that as we dive in here. And then the recipes that I'm going to be featuring are from the Good and Cheap cookbook. So the reason I chose this cookbook is not only because the recipes are really easy, there's only a couple ingredients, but she also really focuses on seasonal and seasonality, as well as she keeps in mind like time. And I think that's the biggest thing to remember, is we all don't have a ton of time. So tonight I'm going to be talking about some really fun recipes and also talking about where maybe kids can kind of help and get to know a little bit more about things. And since I adapt some of my recipes, I'll also be providing a link with the adaptions just so you have that. And then I also let you know, I kind of highlight things that are good for younger kids and some things that are great for older kids. So that being said though, let's get to the fun part. Let's dive in. I'm so excited to show you guys my favorite kitchen techniques. So here we are. Here's the setup. So today I said we're going to be talking about salads and vegetables. So the first salad that I'm going to be talking about tonight is one of my favorites. We're going to be talking about potato salad. So when you choose your potatoes, the one step that I've already done is I've already boiled them to make this a little bit faster. When you're boiling your potatoes, you can see that these are still whole, and you can totally boil them whole. It takes a little bit longer, but make sure you're kind of choosing similar sizes so that they cook evenly. Now, if you wanted to get your potatoes boiled faster, you can cut them up, and I'll kind of show you what size I would recommend once I start cutting these up for the salad. So these are potatoes from a local farmer that I got at the farmer's market here in the Marquette area. There's over 20 farmers markets in the UP, although some are kind of ending now. There's lots of potatoes in the UP. It's something we do great. So before we start cutting up the potatoes though, I want to actually make my dressing first. If you were listening to Haley and I before, I really love salad dressings. I think there's some basic fundamentals or like some key things to remember when you're making a dressing, but there's a lot of like creativity. So we're going to start with this potato salad. Tonight, I'm going to add a couple different ingredients than I usually would. So the potatoes, once we get them cut, they're going to go right back into this bowl. So I'm just going to make my dressing in here. Now, of course, when we were baking, if you joined us yesterday, when you're baking, measuring is really important. But for a thing like something like salad dressing, you're going to taste it. So you can always adjust. But that being said, I like to kind of use something so I know how much of each I've put in so far. So first we're going to start with a little bit of olive oil for this potato salad dressing. So I'm going to do probably 2 tablespoons, or for this I'm just using a normal spoon like I would use to eat cereal. So I'm using 2 cereal spoons worth of oil. Now the next thing I'm going to use, there's no label on this, but I really love this ingredient. So the first part, right, we used a fat, which is something like an oil. You could use a flavored oil, but you gotta have some fat in there. Next, you want some acidic, right? So when we talk about acidic, that could be something like a lime, right, or a lemon. But in this case, I'm gonna use vinegar. So this is actually a maple vinegar. So just like folks, your neighbors might even have like their own maple syrup in the spring, but the same folks that make maple syrup often make maple vinegar. So this is gonna be acidic, but it's gonna have a really nice kind of like a mapley flavor. And I think that goes really well with potatoes. So I'm gonna add equal parts. So when I say equal parts, I added 2 of these cereal spoons worth of oil. So I added 2 cereal spoons worth or tablespoons of the maple vinegar. All right, so then the next part is you want a little bit of sweetness, right? We all want a little bit of sweetness in our life, especially when we're eating veggies. It's really nice to balance them out, the bitterness sometimes, you know, or that earthy flavor with something sweet. So I've decided you could use honey. Some people just use table sugar, but I really recommend, you know, staying away from white sugar and going with more of a natural sugar like honey or maple syrup. So today we're going to be using maple syrup, and let me get the cap off here. I'm going to use equal parts as well. So when I say equal, I've used 2 of these spoonfuls of everything else. So I'm going to use 2 of the maple syrup. So we've got 2 of all of our different here. Now we're not done yet. I think it's really important to have flavor, right? So we've got potatoes. Potatoes are bland, so kind of taste, they don't have a whole lot of taste, right? Like they're delicious, but they don't have a whole lot of flavor themselves. So we're gonna add some pepper. Now, if you don't like a lot of pepper, you don't have to add a lot of pepper. I like a lot of pepper. And then, you know, the most important part, in particular for potato salad, because those potatoes are gonna need a lot of flavor, is salt. So I've got this little spoon that's already in here, but I think about 2 of those just to make sure I've got enough. And again, you can check out the recipe for these exact amounts. Now, one ingredient I really like is a little bit of chili flake because I like some spice. So I'm just gonna do a little bit of that. All right, so this is a fun part, right? If you're at home, if you are cooking with your mom and she's making a salad, how much fun would it be for you to kind of put these in the bowl? And then this is the best part, right? You gotta make sure you whisk everything together, especially when you've got sugar and salt in there. You want them to melt, you know, they kind of melt into the liquidy part. So you want them to dissolve. It smells so good already. Now, something that's really important, no matter what, is we've got to taste this, right? And make sure that it tastes good. So I've got a clean spoon here that I just put in here. Just a reminder to use clean utensils when tasting. I've already washed my hands. Let me try this. Oh, wow. That's really good. Now I get a little bit of the vinegar. I got some of the oil. I really like the flavor. It's a little salty, but that's okay because the potatoes are gonna go into that and we want to bring out, they're gonna need that flavor as well. So we're done with our dressing. So I'm gonna set this bowl kind of to the side and we'll get the rest of our ingredients prepped here. So I'm gonna keep it simple. You can add a lot of stuff to potato salad. I've added things like black beans, as well as other fresh veggies. My favorite vegetable is a radish. So I'm gonna add this radish. So I'm just gonna cut off the top and the bottom, not too much here, but gonna get rid of those. Now when I'm cutting, just a reminder, you wanna make sure you're safe in the kitchen, right? So I'm gonna make sure I hold my knife properly. So I'm gonna put my thumb and my pointer finger so that I have control, and then I'm gonna wrap my hand around. So that way I have full control of the knife. So, and when I'm cutting too, you don't wanna put your hand like this, right? That's dangerous. You wanna make sure that you're curling your fingers in, and that way the knife's gonna hit your knuckles before you'd ever hurt yourself. So, but if you're, you know, this is a part where mom can help too, and she can kind of cut up, or mom or dad or whoever's helping you out in the kitchen, they can cut up the veggies for you, and you can get to mix them in the dressing. So how you cut everything is totally up to you for a fresh salad like this. I think it's really fun to kind of play around with shapes. Here I'm gonna just, you know, have these and then have them again into quarters, and then do some nice kind of bite-sized pieces here. And then all I have left to do is to cut up my potatoes and mix up our salad here. But I want to show you, if you wanted to cut the potatoes before you cooked them, what size I would recommend. So we're gonna put our radishes in here. They look beautiful. So for your potato, if you wanted to make this quicker, I would consider cutting it into probably quarters. So when we say quarters, we're talking about first we've halved it and then we've halved it again. So we've got these nice quarter pieces. Now this would be good if I was going to just cook the potatoes. That way they'll cook a little faster. You obviously could cut them smaller, but I find they start to overcook too fast then, and then you kind of have a really mushy potato salad. That being said, maybe you really like a mushy kind of potato salad. You don't want a whole lot of bite to your potatoes. It's totally up to you. Another thing to remember is when you're cooking potatoes is you really want to make sure you salt the water. Like I was talking about before, potatoes can be a little bland, so we want to make sure that we add that flavor in. Now I'm cutting these a little smaller because they're already cooked, and I want to make sure that we have a nice bite in our salad. I left the skins on because I love potato skins and I kind of like the texture they add. But if you don't like potato skin, you can totally cut them off or peel them before you cook them, whatever you prefer. I think it's really important, and kind of the best part about cooking right is that you are kind of taking not over control, and you know what you like and you know what you don't like. So the more you cook and the more comfortable you are in the kitchen, I feel like you get a lot better at creating dishes and food that you love to eat. All right. So we've got our potatoes all cut. Again, I've already got clean hands. That being said, I'm going to grab a rag here so I can make sure my knife is clean. I think it's really important to stay clean when you're cooking in the kitchen, right? Both for you, maybe the whole family, right? But then it's nice for cleanup. So got everything in here. I'm going to grab another fresh spoon and mix it all up. And then this, you could eat this right away, but I like to let it kind of sit in the dressing for a little while first. And there you are. So step one was potato salad. Now, take a little breath here. We're going to dive right in. We're going to keep going. So I'm going to set this potato salad aside, although I really want to dig in right now. So the next kind of thing while we're in this world of vegetables, I wanted to just talk about what I think is like the one most important thing to do is roasting vegetables. I love roasted vegetables. I think we don't eat as many vegetables as we should, and one of the ways that I kind of fix that is I always roast veggies at home. So that way I have them in the fridge, I can put them in something really quickly, but they're also just a really good side. So today I want to do some roasted vegetables with everyone and kind of talk about how important it is to make sure that you coat them in oil before you and I think we all like just drizzle it over the top on our pan. It's really important to roast those veggies and then coat them evenly in oil. So first, we got to start prepping our vegetables, and I have some really fun ones here to show you that you might not have seen before. So let me get everything ready for us. If you wanted to, if you had a favorite vegetable, you could put that in the chat. My favorite vegetable I'm about to show you, and I'm really excited to show you. All right. Okay. So beets. Oh, I love beets too. So my favorite vegetable is kohlrabi. I love kohlrabi so much. It's actually going to make it into both of our recipes, our next two recipes, which I guess this isn't really a recipe. We're just roasting vegetables, but it's a fundamental that everyone should know. But our salad is also going to have kohlrabi and carrots in it. So let's start with the kohlrabi. Since we're going to use this for both the recipes, I'm going to use half for the roasted vegetables and then half for the salad that we'll be doing. So I'm going to cut it and peel it all right now, but then I'll cut it in half and only use half of it. So when you would see this, it would have like a really like long top, kind of like carrots. It kind of looks alien, which I think is cool. So I'm gonna cut, make sure you guys can see. Yes, so same premise with, or same kind of setup with the knife here, making sure I have control. So one side is gonna be really tough on a kohlrabi, so I kind of, sometimes I like to cut it and just see it might need to be cut off a little bit more because it can be a little tough. It's a storage crop. So when I say storage crop, what I mean is it is like a carrot or a potato, so it grows really well and then like stores, like it goes into a root cellar and can last for a long time, or, you know, things like strong carrots, you know, they'll last forever in the fridge as long as you keep them in the right place. Okay, so for this part, you want to take off the skin of the kohlrabi. You could use a peeler, but I tend to find that the skin's so thick that it's actually probably better to use a knife. I do use a smaller knife. So again, this is something maybe that you're going to need some help with at home. But here I'm going to make sure, again, I'm keeping all my fingers. I've got control over my knife and keeping my fingers out of the way. And I'm just kind of going and following the kohlrabi. It does not have to be perfect. Now, I used to work in a professional kitchen. Now there, obviously, maybe I want to make sure, but here it's you getting used to vegetables, right? So, you know, you're gonna make some mistakes, but that's okay. I think, especially with vegetables, you gotta try things and you gotta see how you like them cooked and the types of sauces or dressings that you like. So I always kind of start with one side. Usually I can get most of it, but usually have to go back. You can see I'm keeping my area nice and clean. I've got, you can see it. So I've got a whole kind of bowl where all my scraps are going. If you had, you know, chickens or you wanted to feed those to the birds, you could totally do that. All right. Okay, so we've got all that skin off. And then, like I said, we're going to use half of this. So I'm just gonna go right in half. And we're gonna put this here for our salad later. So for when you're roasting vegetables, the biggest thing to remember is you just kind of want to have the veggies be around the same size. I think it will be hard to get that perfect, of course. But so kind of just made it into these little chunks here. And then they're gonna be pretty big chunks because I'm roasting them. They're gonna get a little bit smaller here. So I'm kind of cool with the bigger chunks. When you feel the veggies, so like this veggie, it feels pretty strong, but it kind of also has the texture of an apple. So like it's gonna cook a lot faster than this beet, right? That's so, like, you can just feel how hard this beet is in comparison to, obviously you guys can't, this is the sad part I miss about having demos in person, but if you could feel this at home, it definitely feels like an apple, where this kind of feels like a rock. So I'm okay with having bigger pieces of kohlrabi. You can kind of turn your knife and make those cuts really fun. It's a fancy word, but chefs call it an oblique cut, when you kind of cut on a bias. And the point is that way you get nice kind of crispy corners, and then you have a nice fully cooked inner piece. All right, so there, kohlrabi's all cut. Now, some of the next one I'm going to do is a beet here. So again, well, actually, let's do the beet last because it can be a little bit messy, right? So let's go to the radish next. Now, in the cookbook, she does talk about how you can leave the skins on for roasting vegetables, which I'm going to do because I don't mind the skins. This, I didn't even tell you this beautiful thing. Does anyone know what this is? It's a radish, so it's actually called a watermelon radish. These grow really well in the UP, and a lot of local farmers like to grow them because they, again, they store really well. So they're just like a potato or a carrot. These, again, are pretty soft, like the kohlrabi, so I left the pieces nice and big. Do the same thing here. Just kind of cutting them like that. All right, so the next two veggies look kind of similar, but they're different. So one is going to be, we have the carrot, and then one is going to be, we have a parsnip. So you might have had parsnips before, but they're kind of like a carrot, but they have a lot, like they're much earthier. But I really like parsnips for like mashed, like a mashed parsnip, maybe instead of like a mashed potato. So again, I'm gonna leave the skins on these as well because they do add a nice flavor, and the skin is actually the best part for you. That's where all the nutrients are. So I will just kind of cut off the tops and the bottoms a little bit here. Again, putting them in my bowl, keeping my cutting board nice and clean. And then I'm gonna go kind of with those same oblique cuts. They don't have to be fancy, you're just roasting some veggies. Here, this is the most traditional that the chefs do, is that back and forth. Now, here it's a little bit thicker, the end, so I'm gonna half it and then do the same. Again, you can see these are not, they don't have to be perfect. And that's why it's fun to kind of, if you're just learning how to use a knife, like some of these cuts are, they don't have to be perfect. You're not trying to slice anything thin. So same thing, doing this. Look at that carrot. Look at how pretty that is on the inside there. All right. So like I said, the biggest part, the most important thing to remember, this was really just to kind of show you some of the different veggies that are super, oh, the beet, I almost forgot. So this one, I am also gonna leave the skin on, but it is a little rough up top. So I'm gonna kind of make sure I cut that full top off and then just get the little bit off on the bottom. So a nice bigger amount on top. And now, like I said, this is like so hard in comparison to the other veggies. So I'm gonna do some smaller cuts, almost slices, I should say. And that way I know that those aren't gonna be still super tough in comparison to all the other veggies. I really like roasting beets with stuff because they're so pretty. Everything's gonna look kind of pink and purple, which I think is really fun. All right, we're gonna get my fresh cutting board for the last one here. So the main reason I wanted to just do this was to show you the different vegetables that are out there, storage veggies. Look how pretty that looks. But when you roast vegetables, I think the biggest key is making sure that you pour the oil in it while it's in this bowl, and then add salt and pepper, and then make sure you get them fully coated, right? Because you want to make sure that they're all, like, if they're dry, they're just not gonna cook right. So rather than get that step, I actually already have some veggies in the oven just to kind of show you all really quickly. Now they look kind of dark, but when we cut these, you kind of see a lot of them are already dark to begin with. But we've got like the parsnip here, and they smell super good. And I'm so excited to put these in a bowl of rice for later. All right, so we're almost done. It's kind of crazy how fast this one goes by, but I want to show you the last salad, which is one of my absolute favorites. So let me just make sure that I've got everything, all of my mise en place. If you're like, what is she talking about with mise en place? So mise en place is French. It is, if you want to be a chef or if you were in a kitchen, it's a really, really common term, and it means everything in place. So that means that you're organized, right? And I think just like I want to make sure that I keep my area clean, I want to make sure I'm organized, because it makes everything go nice and smooth, and it just makes being in the kitchen fun. So we've got, make sure I got all my ingredients, got all my stuff for my dressing. Oh, I am missing one thing for my dressing, guys. Let me grab that. Oh wait, it is here. Okay. The nice thing about being in my apartment, I've got everything I need pretty close. Okay. So let's go. So this last salad, like I said, is one of my absolute favorites, and we're gonna start again with the dressing. So let me grab my spoon here. Same concept as before, except for instead of using, used olive oil the first time, this time I'm gonna use a sesame oil. But you could also use olive oil. You could use like a sunflower seed oil, whatever oil that you enjoy the most. I like the sesame one. It's kind of got a really nice roasted flavor. So we're gonna do 2 parts. or 2 spoonfuls, just like we did last time. So instead of adding salt in this dressing, I use soy sauce. I think this is like a tamarind soy sauce. So it's, I think there's just like less, or it's gluten-free, that's what it is. So I'm gonna add the same amount to, in this, like I said, so I usually would add salt, but if you've ever had soy sauce, it's already salty. So I don't think I'll need to add any salt, but we'll still taste it just to make sure. We wanna make sure that we're flavoring those veggies. Now, again, last time, remember we added the maple vinegar, which is the acid. So this time we're gonna add a rice vinegar instead. If you don't have rice vinegar, you could use a white vinegar, or an apple cider vinegar is really good for this recipe too, because there's apple in it. But I just really love rice vinegar. So, and then the last piece or ingredient, besides a little bit of pepper, is going to be, again, I like the sweetness, and I like the kind of, it's like just like a rustic flavor that you get from this, like a kind of a woodsy flavor that you get from maple syrup. So just a reminder of what's in here. We've got the soy sauce, the sesame oil, we've got a little bit of maple syrup, and we've got the rice vinegar, and it's all equal parts. We did 2 spoonfuls of each. Now let me grab my whisk. Ooh, I want to add just a little bit chili flake, because you know I like spice, and we're gonna add just a little bit of pepper, not a ton. Okay, and same concept. There's not really as much to dissolve, so I'm not super worried about this being stirred enough. All right, so first thing that we want to do is we do want to peel the carrots this time, right? I like the skin, they're good for me, but when I'm eating something fresh like this, I definitely like to peel them. So I'm going to actually peel, keep my station clean here, and peel right into here. And I chose these carrots in particular because they're so pretty on the inside. So again, these I got at the farmer's market in my area, but maybe your neighbor has carrots, maybe you grew carrots this year. Otherwise, I'm sure you've got some great carrots that you can get at the grocery store. I love eating carrots fresh. They're so delicious. So we'll do 2 carrots. Again, these recipes aren't as strict. It's not like baking where it's really precise. We're really just making as much as we need. This dressing, both of these dressings actually, you can make a big batch of them and save them and keep them in the fridge just like you would your other salad dressings that you would buy from the store. I think it's really smart to just kind of make your own and save a bunch of money. So we've got our carrots are peeled, we've got our kohlrabi from before, and we're gonna add an apple to this one. So get that there for scraps. So let's start with the kohlrabi here. So this, we want to definitely have the pieces be a lot smaller than they were before. So I'm gonna see, I kind of halved that. I'm gonna go one more time. Now, remembering my technique, remembering where I'm keeping my hands, this can go faster. Now, they don't have to be perfect slices. You just want to make sure that you can like chew everything, right? When you start eating this salad, you want to be able to take a bite and not have stuff that's too big. Now you can see, I think, yes, you can see. I'm going right into my bowl of dressing here. And some of those pieces are not perfect, but that's not a big deal. It's all gonna taste delicious. All right, so we'll cut that one more time. So again, when we talked about the salad dressing, just remember that, you know, to taste it and make sure that it's delicious and that it's what you're looking for. I'm realizing that I didn't taste mine, but what we'll do is we'll mix up the salad and taste the veggies and see how they are. So say you taste your dressing and you're like, whoa, it's so salty. How do you fix that? Well, you can add a little bit more oil, right? Because that oil's fat, and that fat is going to make it not so salty and kind of balance that out. You also can add some sweetness, a little bit more of the syrup. Now, if it's too sweet, you would probably want to add more of like the what am I thinking? The acidity, right? So more vinegar. So just remember that you can totally balance out those flavors even if you make a mistake. So carrots, I'll do one at a time here. Super easy. Again, want it to be bite-sized, but they don't have to be perfect. You could, especially in the ends here, you could go with this cut where I cut it in half first. This definitely makes it a little bit safer to cut because it's got a nice base. All right, and move that here. Get this last one cut. Now I went with apple. This is actually a recipe that is modified from the cookbook. They do a broccoli and apple salad. I think that the broccoli and apple salad with this dressing would be really good too. But it's totally up to you. You can do this with so many other veggies. All right, let's cut this one in half a little bit. And then all we're gonna have left to do is to cut up our apple and taste our salad. So since I'm getting close to finishing up, I just wanna thank you all again for joining. I wanna give a big thank you to MARESA and the Michigan Health Endowment Fund who made this possible. And most of all, I wanna thank you guys for joining us. So apple here, our last lesson of the day, cutting an apple, right? Super simple, but there's a great techniques that make things easier, right? So first you wanna half it. Now apple, this is the core, right? So you don't wanna eat that inner part. It's kind of tough. I'm gonna leave the skin on this one, definitely, right? Because that's really good for you. So I've halved it. I'm gonna half it one more time. So now I've got quarters, right? So 4 is quarters. So I wanna make sure I get that out. So what I wanna do is safely, right? So make sure that my fingers are up and that my knife is pointing in an kind of an angle. It's hard to show on the screen here, but an angle, maybe this helps, right? So I'm gonna kind of cut at an angle and just cut that corner of that apple off. And there we go. This is the part that I don't wanna eat. Got that cut off there. So like I said, thank you so much everyone for joining. If you wanted to watch this again, or if you're interested in checking out the video that we did yesterday, which we made an apple coffee cake and a ragu, you can check that out on the Taste the Local Difference YouTube channel. So we'll be sure to share those. And then of course we wanted to make sure we talk about local. Again, I think maybe in a different life I would have cut these like that, but I'm gonna stick with what I'm doing here. So anyway, as a place to find local, you can visit the Taste the Local Difference Find Food and Farms app. So it's kind of like Google for local farms in Michigan. You can, and actually other local producers, you can find fisheries, you can find restaurants that buy from local folks. So we can put that in the chat, as well as if you're from the UP and you're really looking to find local stuff in your neighborhood, I think community is such an important piece. And there's a really great Facebook group that exists. It's called Shop UP Farms. And it's simple as like, if you were looking like, hey, I really want, 10 pounds of carrots because I really want to make this delicious salad. Folks, if they have it available, they'll get back to you, hopefully if they're in your area. All right, so piece de resistance. I'm going to use my last clean spoon here to mix up this salad. This is so much, and you're all like, wait, salad? We talked about salad all day and we didn't even have any greens, right? Salads don't always have to be just lettuce. Now, if you wanted to dress this up or add some greens, I really love adding microgreens on the top. But again, it's really good to just eat fresh vegetables in this way. So I really suggest doing some of these vegetable heavy salads. Now, since I didn't taste my dressing, I'm gonna try a carrot really quick here and go back here so I can wave goodbye. It's good. It's good. Maybe a little bit more soy sauce, but I can still add that in. So that is the conclusion of our class. Again, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, MARESA, for this opportunity. I really recommend checking out the cookbook that, like I said in the beginning, is available for free online. Here, one last showing here. It's really simple recipes. They're all really affordable. There's a lot of great things that you can use that are local in there, and just a lot of great tips. I hope that you all enjoyed the class today, and have a great rest of your night. Hopefully get in the kitchen and start cooking.